Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold metal of the viewing window. His breath made small clouds on the glass as he stared at the massive space station ahead of them. The thing was huge. It's much bigger than anything humans had ever built. It looked like a giant crystal flower floating in the darkness of space. Each petal was actually a building that stretched for miles. Lights blinked all over its surface like tiny stars. First time seeing the council station? Asked Captain Amy Foster as she walked up beside him. Her reflection appeared in the window next to his. She was wearing her best uniform, just like everyone else on the ship today. Jake nodded without taking his eyes off the station. It makes our biggest space cities look like toys. Amy laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Wait until you see. The inside makes you feel like an ant walking into a palace. Behind them, Ambassador Lisa Carter was getting ready for the most important meeting in human history. She stood in front of a mirror, adjusting her formal diplomatic clothes. The outfit was supposed to show respect for the alien cultures they were about to meet. It had cost more money than most people made in a year. How do I look? Lisa asked her assistant, a young man named Pete Anderson. Pete gave her a thumbs up, like someone who speaks for all of humanity. Lisa tried to smile, but her stomach was full of butterflies. Today she would ask the Galactic Council to let humans join their group. For 300 years, alien races had worked together to keep peace in this part of the galaxy. They shared technology, traded goods, and helped each other solve problems. But they had never let a new species join before. The human ship slowly moved closer to the docking bay. Through the speakers, they could hear the voices of alien traffic controllers giving them directions. The translation machines turned their strange sounds into English, but it still sounded weird. Proceed to docking port 774, said a voice that sounded like wind blowing through metal pipes. Reduce speed to 0.05. Welcome to Council Station. Jake watched as their ship entered the docking bay. The walls were covered in symbols he couldn't read. Other ships were parked nearby, and none of them looked like human designs. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like balls. One looked like it was made of living coral. Those are ships from all over the galaxy, Amy explained. Each species builds them differently. Some use engines we don't understand. Others can travel faster than anything we've ever imagined. The docking process took an hour. When it was finally done, Lisa Carter took a deep breath and walked toward the airlock. Jake, Amy, and Pete followed her. They were her security team and advisors. Behind them came a group of human scientists and diplomats. The airlock opened, with a soft hissing sound. On the other side was a hallway that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft light. The air smelled like flowers mixed with metal. Welcome to Council Station, said a tall creature waiting for them. It looked like a person, but its skin was blue and it had 4 arms. I am Guide Nexon. I will take you to the council chamber. As they walked through the station, Lisa tried not to stare at all the different aliens around them. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated in the air or crawled along the walls. There were creatures made of gas, trapped in glass, suits, and others that looked like walking trees. How many different species are part of the council? Lisa asked Guide Nexon. Currently, there are 47 member species, Nexon replied. Some have been part of the council for over 1,000 years. The newest member joined 200 years ago. Pete whispered to Lisa, that means we would be the first new members in 2 centuries. The council chamber was the biggest room Lisa had ever seen. It was shaped like a bowl, with seats arranged in circles, going up toward the ceiling. Each section was designed for different types of aliens. Some seats were filled with water for species that lived underwater. Others had special atmosphere bubbles for creatures that breathed different gases. As the human group entered, Lisa could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching them. Some of the creatures had normal eyes like humans. Others had dozens of tiny eyes, or one giant eye or eyes that glowed with their own light. Guide Nexon led them to a platform in the center of the chamber. You will speak from here, he told Lisa. The translation system will make sure everyone understands your words. Lisa looked up at all the alien faces staring down at her. Her heart was beating so fast, she thought everyone might hear it. had practiced this speech hundreds of times, but now her mind felt blank. A loud sound echoed through the chamber. It was like someone hitting a giant bell. All the aliens became quiet. "The Council recognizes the delegation from Earth," announced, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Ambassador Carter, you may present your case." Lisa stepped forward and began to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I come before you today representing the human species. We are a young race, but we have shown that we can overcome great challenges. We've learned to work together to solve problems. We've explored our solar system and are ready to take our place among the stars." She talked about human history, about how they had survived wars and disasters. She explained how humans had gone from living in caves to building cities to traveling in space. She described their art, their music, their science, and their dreams of exploring the galaxy. But as Lisa spoke, she noticed something wrong. Some of the aliens were making strange noises. At first, she thought they were talking to each other, then she realized they were laughing. The sound started small, but it grew louder. A creature that looked like a giant insect began making a high-pitched, chittering sound. Soon, other aliens joined in with their own versions of laughter. Lisa stopped talking and looked around in confusion. This wasn't what was supposed to happen. A reptile-like alien with scales and sharp teeth stood up in his seat. "The humans think they deserve to sit with us," he said in a voice like gravel falling down a mountain. "A species that has barely left their own solar system. A species that still fights wars with chemical explosives and metal bullets." More laughter filled the chamber. A creature made of light, floating in a crystal shell, pulsed with colors that the translation system said meant amusement and contempt. "They tell us about their mighty space fleet," the light creature said. "Ships that crawl through space slower than our cargo vessels, armed with nuclear weapons that our children's toys could block." Lisa felt her face turn red, but she kept her voice steady. "Honored council members, humanity may be young, but we have proven our determination. We have survived and grown stronger through every challenge we have faced. We learn quickly and adapt to new situations." A floating creature that looked like a jellyfish waved its tentacles dismissively. "Your species shows some promise, perhaps, but you are centuries behind even our youngest council member. Come back when you have something more than brave words and good intentions." The laughter grew louder. Lisa could hear aliens making jokes about human technology, human appearance, and human intelligence. Some said humans looked like hairless apes. Others said human ships were so slow they might as well walk. Jake clenched his fists as he listened to the insults. Amy put a hand on his arm to keep him calm. Pete was taking notes on everything the alien said, his face showing no emotion. The reptile alien stood up again. "We have watched your species for some time," he announced. "You cannot even make peace on your own planet, pollute your air and water. You waste your resources on conflicts instead of progress. Why would we want such a violent and primitive species in our council?" Furthermore, added another alien that looked like a walking tree, "Your technology is laughable. You're fastest. Ships would take decades to travel between nearby star systems. Your weapons could not scratch the paint on our defensive stations. You have nothing to offer us except entertainment." Lisa tried to respond, but the laughter was too loud. The aliens weren't even pretending to listen anymore. They were making jokes and pointing at the human delegation. Finally, the bell sound rang again, and the chamber became quiet. The floating jellyfish creature spoke in what was clearly a final judgment. "The Galactic Council has heard your request, humans. We appreciate your courage in coming here, but we must decline your application for membership. Perhaps in a few hundred years, when your species has matured and developed proper technology, we will consider your request again. Till then, we suggest you focus on solving your own planet's problems." The session was over. Guide Nexon appeared beside Lisa and gestured toward the exit. "I will escort you back to your ship," he said quietly as they walked out of the chamber. Lisa could still hear alien laughter behind them. Her life's work, humanity's greatest diplomatic effort, had ended in complete humiliation. But as they reached the hallway, Lisa noticed something in Jake's eyes. It wasn't defeat or sadness. It was something much more dangerous. It was the look of someone who had just been underestimated and was planning to prove everyone wrong. Amy saw it too. She gave Jake a small nod that said she understood. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought they knew everything about humanity based on what they could see. 3 months had passed since the disaster at the Galactic Council. The news of humanity's rejection had spread across Earth like wildfire. Some people were angry, others were sad. But deep underground in a military base hidden inside a mountain, a small group of people were getting ready to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Admiral Helen Brooks walked through the long hallways of the Cheyenne Mountain complex. The base was built inside solid rock, so deep that even nuclear bombs could not reach it. Most people thought it was used for tracking satellites and space debris. They were wrong. It was the home of humanity's most secret projects. Helen had gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been in the military for 30 years and had seen humanity's space program grow from simple rockets to ships that could travel to other planets. But what she was about to show her guests was far beyond anything the public knew about. The meeting room was small and windowless. Around the table sat the leaders of projects so secret that their names were not written in any computer. Person in the room had spent years working on technology that could change everything. "Thank you all for coming," Helen said as she stood at the head of the table. "I know some of you traveled far to be here. What we discuss today cannot leave this room." Dr. Ryan Walsh was the first to speak. He was a thin man with messy hair, who looked like he had not slept in days. "The alien rejection was actually perfect timing," he said. "It gives us the excuse we need to move forward with the project." Captain Amy Foster sat at the other end of the table. She had returned from the council station 3 months ago, but she still remembered every detail of the alien laughter. "Exactly are we talking about?" she asked. Helen pressed a button on the table and the lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room showing blueprints of a spaceship. But this was not like any ship the public had ever seen. "For 15 years, we have been working on Project Nightfall," Helen explained. "While the world watched our regular space program, we were building something completely different." Ship in the hologram was sleek and dark. It had no windows and no markings. Its hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface, but they were not human writing. "The outer shell is made from materials that do not exist in nature," Dr. Walsh said. "We created them in laboratories using particle accelerators. The metal can bend light around itself, making the ship invisible to normal eyes." Commander Pete Anderson leaned forward to get a better look. He had been quiet since returning from the council station, but his eyes were bright with interest. "Invisible is good, but the aliens have sensors that can detect things we cannot even imagine." "That is where phase shifting comes in," Dr. Walsh replied. He touched the hologram, and it changed to show the ship's internal systems. "We discovered how to push matter slightly out of normal space and time. The ship exists, but not completely. In our reality, alien sensors cannot detect something that is not entirely there." Amy stared at the display. "Is that possible? It sounds like science fiction." 5 years ago, I would have agreed with you," Helen said. "Made breakthroughs that changed everything. We learned how to manipulate the fabric of space itself." The hologram showed a cutaway view of the ship's engines. They were unlike anything in human space technology. Instead of burning fuel or using fusion, they seemed to work by twisting space around them. "The propulsion system creates a bubble around the ship," Dr. Walsh explained. "Inside the bubble, space and time work differently. The ship can move faster than light without breaking the laws of physics because it never actually moves through normal space." Helen walked around the table as she spoke. "The weapons are even more impressive. Instead of firing bullets or energy beams, they shoot pieces of reality itself. The projectiles exist in multiple dimensions at once. It can pass through any kind of shield or armor." Pete whistled softly. "The aliens would never see it coming." "That is the idea," Helen replied. "But we are not building this ship to start a war. We are building it to make sure the galaxy treats humanity with respect." Amy looked around the room at the serious faces of her colleagues. "How many people know about this project?" "Including everyone in this room. Exactly 27 people. Helen answered, "The ship is being built in a facility that officially does not exist. The workers think they are building components for a new type of space station." Dr. Walsh pulled up another hologram showing test results and performance data. "We have been testing smaller versions of the technology for 3 years. The phase shifting works perfectly. The engines can push a ship to incredible speeds. The weapons can destroy targets that conventional weapons cannot even damage. But we have never built anything this large," Pete pointed out. "There could be problems we have not thought of." "There could be," Helen agreed, "but we are running out of time. Our intelligence sources tell us the aliens are not just ignoring us anymore. They are starting to see us as a threat." She pressed another button, and the hologram changed to show star maps with alien fleet positions. Red dots marked the locations of hostile ships. There were a lot of red dots, and they were getting closer to human space. "The Corvin Empire has been moving warships toward our outer colonies," Helen explained. "They claim it is for training exercises, but our spies say they are planning something more serious." Amy studied the map. "How serious?" "Serious enough that they have been jamming our communication arrays and scanning our defense systems," Helen replied. "The Zephyrians are doing the same thing from the other direction. They are working together to put pressure on us." Pete stood up and walked to the hologram. "They want to make an example of us, show other young species what happens when you get too ambitious." "Exactly," Helen said. "The Council may have rejected our membership application, but they see our growing space presence as a challenge to their authority. They want to put us back in our place." Dr. Walsh opened a folder and spread papers across the table. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive fleet movements. Ships from at least 6 different alien species are heading toward human space." The room became very quiet as everyone absorbed this information. Amy was the first to speak. "How many ships?" "Our best estimate is over 200 vessels," Helen answered, "including several of their largest warships, ships that could destroy entire planets." Pete sat back down heavily. "Our regular fleet cannot stand against that kind of force. We only have 40 ships, and most of them are cargo vessels with light weapons. Which is why Project Nightfall is our only hope," Helen said. "One advanced ship with the right technology could change the entire balance of power." Dr. Walsh pulled up technical specifications on his tablet. "The USS Phantom is 90% complete. We could have it operational within 2 weeks if we push the construction teams." "The USS Phantom?" Amy asked. "That is what we are calling the ship," Helen explained, "because it will be like a ghost that can strike without warning." Amy looked at the holographic ship spinning slowly in the air above the table. "Who is going to crew it?" "This technology is so advanced that normal spaceship pilots would not know how to use it." "We have been training a select group of officers for the past 2 years," Helen replied. "People who think they are learning to operate experimental research vessels. They have no idea what they are really preparing for." Pete studied the weapons systems displayed in the hologram. "Oh, what about ammunition?" "These quantum torpedoes look like they would be expensive to make." "Each torpedo costs as much as a small spaceship," Dr. Walsh admitted. "But we only need a few to make our point. The goal is not to destroy the alien fleet completely. The goal is to show them that humanity has capabilities they never suspected." Helen walked to a wall screen and activated a video feed. It showed a massive construction facility hidden deep underground. Robotic arms moved around a dark shape that was clearly the USS Phantom. Workers in environmental suits crawled over its surface, installing final components. "The ship is beautiful," Amy said quietly. "It is also our secret weapon," Helen replied. "The aliens think they know everything about human technology. They believe we are centuries behind them. They are about to learn how wrong they can be." Pete looked at the fleet movement data again. "When do you think they will attack?" "Our intelligence suggests they are planning to move within the next month," Helen answered. "They want to strike before we can strengthen our defenses or call for help from other species." Dr. Walsh closed his tablet and looked around the room. "So we have less than a month to finish the USS Phantom and prepare for the fight of our lives." Helen nodded grimly. "The aliens laughed at us when we asked to join their council. They thought we were primitive and harmless. They are about to Discover that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our weapons. It is our ability to surprise our enemies when they least expect it. Amy stood up and walked to the holographic display. She reached out as if to touch the image of the USS Phantom. When this is over, they will never underestimate us again. That is the plan, Helen said. The galaxy is about to learn that humans are not the weak species the Council thought we were. We are something much more dangerous. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a storm cloud of death. 237 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed in the sunlight, each one larger than the biggest. Human City. The lead ship was so massive, it had its own gravity field. Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Render. He was a Corvan, which meant he looked like a giant lizard that walked on two legs. His scales were dark green and his eyes glowed red in the dim light of the bridge. Behind him, his officers worked at control stations that hummed with alien technology. 237 ships against their pathetic fleet, Kethfer said to his second-in-command. This will be over before dinner time.
Ow.
On the tactical display, the human defense fleet looked tiny and helpless. 43 ships had formed a protective circle around Earth and Mars. The human vessels were crude compared to alien technology. They used simple fusion engines and carried weapons that fired metal bullets and nuclear missiles. Lieutenant Commander Zeftai, an insect-like alien with 4 arms and compound eyes, studied the human formations. Their largest ship is smaller than our escort vessels. Their weapons cannot even scratch our shields, Kethfer laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. The humans are brave, I will give them that. But bravery without power is just stupidity. Radio signals filled the space between the fleets as human commanders tried to coordinate their hopeless defense. The aliens could listen to every word because human encryption was like a children's puzzle to their advanced computers. On Earth, President Karen Davis stood in the White House Situation Room, watching the alien fleet approach on dozens of screens. Her advisors sat around the table with grim faces. Everyone knew this was probably humanity's last day. Madam President, should we try to negotiate? Asked General Robert Cole, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Karen shook her head. They did not come here to talk. They came here to make an example of us. High above Earth's atmosphere, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, humanity's flagship. Through the viewing window, he could see the alien fleet spreading out like a giant net. Each enemy ship was bristling with weapons that could destroy his vessel with a single shot. All ships maintained defensive positions. Jake spoke into his communication device. Do not fire until fired upon. Make them look like the aggressors. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, looked up from her console with worried eyes. Sir, their lead ship is charging weapons. Energy readings are off the scale. Jake nodded calmly. All hands prepare for battle. This is what we trained for. But Jake knew something his crew did not. The USS Defiance and the rest of the human fleet were not really trying to win this battle. They were playing a part in a much larger plan. Every move they made was designed to make the aliens overconfident and careless. The alien fleet moved forward slowly, like a predator playing with its prey. Kethfer wanted to savor this moment. For too long, humans had been expanding into space without permission. Today, he would teach them their place in the galaxy. Open a channel to all human ships, Kethfer ordered, his communication officer. A floating creature that looked like a jellyfish made of metal activated the transmitters. Kethfer's voice boomed across space in dozens of languages. Humans of Earth, this is Admiral Kethfer of the Corvan Empire, speaking for the Galactic Council. You have been judged unworthy of membership in our civilization. Your expansion into space ends today. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your species an example to any other primitive race that dares to dream beyond their capabilities. Jake listened to the alien ultimatum with a straight face, but inside he was smiling. The aliens were doing exactly what the planners had predicted. Their arrogance was making them sloppy. "This is Commander Morrison of the Human Space Command," Jake replied. "We will not surrender. Earth is our home, and we will defend it with our lives." Kethfer's laughter echoed across the communication channels. "So be it. All ships advance to attack positions. Show these primitives the power of civilized species." Alien fleet moved forward like a tidal wave of destruction. Their ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Some looked like giant crystals that sparkled with internal light. Others resembled living creatures with organic curves and flowing lines. A few were clearly built for war, covered in armor and bristling with weapon ports. The first exchange of fire began when the aliens reached weapon range. Human ships launched everything they had. Nuclear missiles streaked through space, trailing pillars of fire. Kinetic projectiles fired from magnetic railguns moved at incredible speed. Energy beams lanced out from human laser cannons. The alien response was devastating. Their weapons fired bolts of pure energy that could melt through steel like butter. Exotic matter bombs created miniature black holes that sucked in everything nearby. Plasma cannons heated space itself until it glowed like the inside of a star. The human ship Discovery was the first to die. An alien plasma beam cut through its hull from nose to tail. The ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the darkness of space. 37 crew members died in seconds. "Discovery is gone," reported Lieutenant Kim, her voice tight with emotion. Jake watched the tactical display as more human ships were destroyed or damaged. The Courage lost its engines and drifted helplessly. The Liberty had its weapons blown off and was leaking atmosphere. The Determination exploded when alien fire reached its reactor core. "Sir, we are losing ships fast," Kim said. "At this rate, the fleet will be destroyed within 2 hours." Jake nodded grimly, but he was not worried. Everything was going according to plan. The alien fleet was spreading out to chase damaged human ships. Their tight formations were breaking apart as individual captains sought to maximize the destruction. On the alien flagship, Kethfer watched the battle with satisfaction. The humans fight bravely, but their weapons are useless against our shields. Their ships are too slow to escape and too weak to hurt us. Lieutenant Commander Zeftai studied the tactical displays. Some of their ships are retreating toward the outer planets. "Should we pursue them?" "Yes," Kethfer replied. "Hunt them down. Let none escape to carry word of this defeat to other systems." The alien fleet scattered across the solar system in pursuit of fleeing human vessels. Some alien ships chased the damaged Courage toward Jupiter. Others followed a group of human destroyers toward the asteroid belt. The beautiful formations that had looked so intimidating were now broken and disorganized. This was exactly what the human planners had hoped for. Deep in space, invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed, the USS Phantom watched the battle unfold. The advanced stealth ship existed partially outside normal space and time. Its hull was darker than the void itself, and its engines made no sound or energy signature. Admiral Helen Brooks stood in the Phantom's command center, surrounded by displays showing the positions of every ship in the battle. The alien fleet was now spread across millions of miles of space, each group focused on destroying human ships and completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. "The enemy is taking the bait perfectly," reported Captain Amy Foster from her position at the tactical station. "Their flagship is exactly where we predicted it would be." Commander Pete Anderson monitored the alien communications that the Phantom had been secretly intercepting for months. "Kethfer is ordering his ships to spread out even more. He wants to make sure no human vessel escapes." Helen watched as more human ships were destroyed or disabled. Each loss hurt, but she knew the crews had been evacuated beforehand, using stealth shuttles the aliens could not detect. The ships that were being destroyed were either empty or manned by volunteers who knew the risks. "Admiral, the alien flagship, is moving into the kill zone," Amy announced. "All weapon systems are ready." Helen looked at the tactical display one more time. The world render was now isolated from the rest of the alien fleet, surrounded by the wreckage of human ships. Kethfer had positioned himself perfectly for what was about to happen. "All stations, prepare for Decloaked," Helen ordered quietly. "Target the flagship." Let us show these aliens what happens when they underestimate humanity. The USS Phantom began to phase back into normal space and time. Its exotic matter hull solidified as the quantum stealth systems powered down. But even then, the alien sensors could not detect it. The ship's technology was so far beyond their understanding that their instruments simply could not process what they were seeing. "Weapons hot," Amy announced. "Quantum torpedo tubes loaded and ready." Helen looked at the image of the alien flagship on her screen. Cuthbert had no idea that death was about to arrive from nowhere. His arrogance had blinded him to the possibility that humans might have surprises of their own. "Fire," Helen said calmly. The first quantum torpedo materialized seemingly from empty space. It existed in multiple dimensions at once, passing through the alien shields as if they were not there. The weapon struck the Worldrender's hull and the massive ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving only a small cloud of particles. Across the alien communication channels, panic erupted as commanders tried to understand what had just happened. The silence that followed the destruction of the Worldrender was more terrifying than any battle cry. For 5 seconds, the alien fleet simply floated in space, trying to understand what had just happened. Their flagship, the pride of the Corvin Empire, had vanished as if it had never existed. Then the panic began. All ships, emergency scan for enemy vessels, screamed the new Corvin commander through the communication channels. "Find whatever destroyed the Worldrender and destroy it immediately." Lieutenant Commander Zeftai was now in charge of the Corvon forces. His 4 insect arms worked frantically at his control panels, while his compound eyes tried to process the impossible sensor data. "Nothing on scanners," he reported to the fleet. "Whatever hit us is not showing up on any detection system." "That is impossible," replied Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian heavy cruiser Swarm's Edge. "No ship can be completely invisible to our sensors. The humans do not possess such technology." The USS Phantom drifted through space like a predator stalking its prey. On the bridge, Admiral Helen Brooks watched the alien fleet's desperate attempts to find her ship. Her sensors swept back and forth across empty space, looking for an enemy that existed partially outside their reality. "They're firing blind," reported Captain Amy Foster from her tactical station. "The Nexari destroyers are shooting at shadows." Commander Pete Anderson monitored the alien communications with growing satisfaction. Her fleet commanders are arguing with each other. Some want to retreat. Others want to keep fighting an enemy they cannot see. Helen studied the tactical display showing the scattered alien ships. The enemy fleet was no longer the organized fighting force that had entered the solar system. Fear and confusion had broken their formations and destroyed their coordination. "Target the Zephyrian cruiser," Helen ordered. "Let us remind them that we are not finished with this lesson." The Phantom moved silently toward the Swarm's Edge. The alien ship was massive, nearly 3 miles long and covered with weapons designed to destroy entire cities. Its quantum armor had never been penetrated by any known weapon. Captain Veltar stood on his bridge, his insect-like mandibles clicking nervously as he searched for the invisible enemy. "All weapons fire random patterns into the surrounding space," he ordered. "If there is a ship out there, we will find it." Bright energy beams lanced out from the Swarm's Edge in all directions. The alien weapons lit up space like a deadly fireworks display, but every shot missed the Phantom because the human ship existed partially outside normal space and time. "Quantum torpedoes ready," Amy announced. "Fire," Helen replied. The torpedo materialized 10 feet from the alien cruiser's hull. Because it existed in multiple dimensions at once, it passed through the Zephyrian shields, as if they were made of paper. The weapon struck the ship's main reactor, and the entire vessel shuddered as its power systems failed. "Direct hit," Amy reported. "Their engines are offline and their weapons are losing power." The Swarm's Edge drifted helplessly in space, its lights flickering as emergency systems tried to keep the ship alive. Captain Veltar stared at his control panels in disbelief. His ship's quantum armor, which had protected them in dozens of battles, had been useless against the human weapon. "This is impossible," Veltar whispered. "Their projectile passed through our shields like they were not there." Across the alien Fleet panic spread like wildfire. The ethereal collective's warship Bright Destiny began to retreat toward the edge of the solar system. The Nexari destroyer pack split up and started running in different directions. Even the mighty Corvin battle cruisers began to pull back from their attack positions. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 3 alien ships," Pete reported. "The others are trying to retreat." Helen shook her head. "No surrenders yet. We need to make sure every species in the galaxy hears about this. Let them run back to their homes with stories of human power." The Phantom turned toward a group of Nexari destroyers that were trying to escape toward Jupiter. These ships were fast and maneuverable, designed to hunt down enemy vessels that tried to flee. Today, they were the ones running for their lives, Commander. The colonel of the destroyer pack had never retreated from a battle in his 20-year career. His jellyfish-like body pulsed with shame as he ordered his ships to flee. But there was no honor in fighting an enemy you could not see or hit. "Increase speed to maximum," Decanol ordered his fleet. "We must reach the hyperspace jump point and warn the Council." The Nexari destroyers were fast, but the Phantom was faster. The human ship moved through space using engines that bent reality itself. While the alien ship struggled to reach 1/10 the speed of light, the Phantom could travel at speeds that made light itself seem slow. "Intercept course plotted," Amy announced. "We will reach them in 30 seconds. Helen watched the fleeing destroyers on her screen. These ships had been part of the force that came to destroy humanity. Their crews had laughed at human weakness. Just hours before, now they were running in terror from a single human vessel. "Target their propulsion systems only," Helen ordered. "Disable them. Do not destroy them. We want survivors to tell this story." The Phantom appeared directly in front of the fleeing Nexari ships. For a split second, they could actually see the dark hull of the human vessel as it solidified into normal space. Then quantum torpedoes streaked toward their engines. The destroyers tried to dodge. But human weapons moved faster than their reflexes. One by one, their engines exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The ships tumbled helplessly through space. No longer able to move under their own power, Commander the Connell floated in his command pod, staring at the human ship that had just crippled his entire fleet. The vessel was like nothing he had ever seen. Its hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange patterns covered its surface that hurt to look at directly. "How?" Decanol whispered to himself. "How do the humans possess such technology?" Phantom did not answer his question. Instead, it simply faded away, becoming invisible once again, as it hunted for new targets. Back near Earth, the remaining alien ships were in complete chaos. Fleet commanders shouted contradictory orders while their crews tried to make sense of the impossible situation. Some ships were fleeing toward the outer solar system. Others were forming defensive circles and firing at empty space. The Corvin battlecruiser Iron Fang had positioned itself behind a large asteroid, hoping the rock would provide protection from the invisible enemy. Captain Mordock was a veteran of 50 battles, but he had never faced anything like this. All sensors at maximum power, Mordock ordered his crew. There must be some way to detect this ghost ship. His science officer, a reptilian female named Sekra, studied her instruments. With growing confusion, "Captain, I am detecting energy signatures that should not be possible. It is as if our enemy exists in multiple dimensions at the same time." Before Mordock could respond, quantum torpedoes struck his ship from 3 different directions. The Iron Fang's armor held for a few seconds, then failed catastrophically. The battlecruiser broke apart in a shower of metal and fire. "Iron Fang is destroyed," reported the communications officer on the surviving alien flagship. The humans just killed 200 crew members. Lieutenant Commander's FDI realized that his fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he could not fight. In 1 hour, the mighty alien armada had been reduced to a collection of damaged and terrified ships. "All vessels, full retreat," Zeftai finally ordered. "Abandon the attack and return to Council space immediately." But even as the alien ships tried to escape, the Phantom continued its deadly work. Helen Brooks had decided that the galaxy needed to see the full extent of human capabilities. Each alien ship that tried to flee found itself disabled or destroyed by weapons that seemed to come from nowhere. The ethereal collective's battleship Transcendence tried to reach hyperspace, but quantum torpedoes destroyed its jump drive just as it was about to escape. The ship's energy being captain pulsed with colors that translated as pure terror. "Our shields are useless," the captain broadcast to the remaining fleet. "Their weapons exist in dimensions we cannot understand. You're fighting an enemy that has transcended the normal laws of physics." By the end of the hour, only 12 alien ships remained capable of movement. The rest were either destroyed or floating dead in space. The proud fleet that had come to punish humanity now looked like the remnants of a disaster. "This is Admiral Brooks," Helen broadcast to the surviving ships. "You came to our home to destroy us because you thought we were weak and primitive. You have learned that humanity is neither weak nor primitive. We are something far more dangerous. You're survivors who refuse to give up." She paused, letting her words sink in across the alien communication channels. "Return to your council. Tell them what you have seen here today. Tell them that humanity will not be ignored or dismissed. We will take our place among the stars whether they approve or not." The surviving alien ships limped away from the solar system, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had announced its arrival as a galactic power in a way that no one would ever forget. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Quantum communication networks carried the impossible story to every corner of known space. A single human ship had destroyed an entire alien fleet. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were suddenly asking questions they had never needed to ask before. On the Galactic Council Station, emergency sessions ran day and night. The same chamber where aliens had laughed at humanity's diplomatic requests now buzzed with fear and confusion. Representatives who had dismissed humans as primitive now watched security footage of the battle with growing alarm. "This cannot be accurate," insisted Councillor Vexai of the Zephyrian Empire. His insect body trembled as he watched his species. Mighty cruiser get disabled by weapons that seem to come from nowhere. The humans do not possess such technology. Our intelligence reports clearly stated they were centuries behind us. The ethereal collective's representative pulsed with colors that indicated deep worry. "Our intelligence was wrong.
The humans
Have been hiding their true capabilities from us. The question now is, what else are they hiding?" High Counselor Zirthok, an ancient being whose species had founded the council 5,000 years ago, floated in his crystalline chamber at the center of the room. His voice echoed with the weight of millennia when he finally spoke. "We have made a grave error in judgment. The humans are not the primitive species we believed them to be. They have demonstrated technological superiority that surpasses our own. We must reconsider our position." Meanwhile, in the Sol system, cleanup operations were underway. Human rescue ships moved through the debris field, searching for alien survivors. Despite everything that had happened, humanity chose to show mercy to their former attackers. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, which had survived the battle with only minor damage. Through his viewing window, he could see alien life pods floating in space like tiny stars. Each one contained crew members from the defeated fleet. "How many survivors have we recovered?" Jake asked his medical officer. "Over 3,000 so far," replied Dr. Lisa Parker. "Most of them are in shock. They keep asking how we defeated them so easily." Jake nodded grimly. "Make sure they receive the best medical care we can provide. When they return home, I want them to tell their people that humans show mercy even to those who came to destroy us." On Earth, President Karen Davis faced a very different world than the one that had existed just days before. Her communication console was flooded with messages. From alien governments, species that had never acknowledged human existence were now begging for diplomatic meetings. "Madam President, we have received formal apologies from 17 different alien governments," reported Secretary of State Brian Cooper. "The Corvin Empire is offering to pay reparations for the attack. The Nexari Collective wants to establish trade agreements immediately." Karen looked out the window of the Oval Office at the crowds of people celebrating in the streets. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger than ever. But she knew this was just the beginning of a much larger change. "What about the Galactic Council?" she asked. They have requested an immediate meeting, Brian replied. They want to discuss humanity's membership application again. Karen smiled for the first time in months. Tell them we will consider their request. But this time, we will be negotiating from a position of strength. Deep in the hidden facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Admiral Helen Brooks stood in the command center of the USS Phantom. The ship had returned to its secret base after completing its mission. Around her, technicians worked to maintain the advanced systems that had made victory possible. The aliens still have no idea how our technology works, reported Dr. Ryan Walsh as he studied intercepted alien communications. Their scientists are trying to analyze the wreckage of their ships, but they cannot understand what destroyed them. Captain Amy Foster looked up from her tactical display. Some of their governments are claiming the battle footage was faked. They cannot accept that humans could possess such advanced weapons. Helen walked to the viewing window that looked out over the construction bay. In the distance, she could see work beginning on a second stealth ship. Project Nightfall was expanding. Beyond a single vessel, let them think what they want, Helen said quietly. The important thing is that they will never underestimate humanity again. Commander Pete Anderson entered the command center, carrying a tablet full of intelligence reports. Admiral, we are seeing major changes in alien military deployments. Several species are pulling their fleets back from human space. Others are requesting permission to station diplomats on Earth. What about hostile movements? Helen asked. None detected, Pete replied. It appears the galaxy has decided that picking a fight with humanity is not a good idea. 3 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Lisa Carter found herself walking through the same corridors of the Galactic Council station, but this time everything was different. Alien beings who had once ignored her now stopped to bow respectfully as she passed. Guards who had looked at humans with contempt now spoke in hushed, fearful whispers. The council chamber was packed with representatives from every known species. News of the human victory had reached the farthest corners of the galaxy, and everyone wanted to see what humanity would do next. Guide Nexon. The same alien who had escorted Lisa during her first visit approached her with obvious nervousness. Ambassador Carter, the council is honored by your presence. Please allow me to escort you to the speaker's platform. Lisa smiled politely, but inside she was remembering the laughter and mockery from her last visit. Today would be very different. As she walked to the center of the chamber, Lisa could feel the weight of thousands of alien eyes watching her every movement. The silence was complete. No one dared to make a sound. The great bell rang to signal the beginning of the session. High Counselor Zerthok's ancient voice filled the chamber. The Galactic Council recognizes Ambassador Carter of the human species. We have called this emergency session to address the recent events in the Sol system and to discuss humanity's place in our galactic community. Lisa stood quietly for a moment, looking up at all the alien faces that had once dismissed her as representing a primitive species. When she finally spoke, her voice carried across the chamber with calm authority. Honored members of the Galactic Council, 3 months ago I stood in this same place, asking for humanity's admission to your organization. You laughed at us. You called us primitive. You said we had nothing to offer but brave words and good intentions. The chamber remained silent. No one dared to interrupt. You were wrong, Lisa continued. Not about our intentions, which are indeed good, but about our capabilities. You assumed that what you could see was all that existed. You made the mistake of judging humanity by your own limited understanding. Counselor Vexai shifted nervously. In his seat, same being who had mocked human technology now looked like he wanted to disappear. The fleet you sent to punish us no longer exists, Lisa said simply. Your most advanced warships were destroyed by weapons you cannot understand. Fired by a ship you could not see. This was not luck or accident. It was the result of human ingenuity and determination. High Counselor Zerthok leaned forward in his crystalline chamber. Ambassador Carter, the Council acknowledges that we misjudged your species' capabilities. We would be honored to reconsider your application for membership. Lisa smiled, but it was not a warm expression. That is very kind of you, High Counselor. However, humanity has reconsidered as well. We have decided that perhaps your council is not the right organization for us to join. Shocked murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was not what the aliens had expected to hear. Instead, Lisa continued, "We propose the formation of a new galactic alliance. One based on mutual respect, rather than technological superiority. One where species are judged by their character rather than their age or power." She paused to let her words sink in. "Any species that wishes to join this new alliance will be welcome, regardless of their current technology level. The only requirements will be a commitment to peace, cooperation, and respect for other forms of life." The chamber erupted in discussion as alien representatives tried to process this unexpected development. The species that had once dismissed humanity was now offering to lead a new galactic order. Over the following months, Lisa's proposal gained support from dozens of younger species who had been excluded from the old council.
Ow.
The Galactic Alliance for Mutual Cooperation was born. With Earth as its headquarters and humanity as its founding member, the old Galactic Council still existed. But its influence was fading. Species were choosing to join the human-led alliance. Instead of the organization that had ruled through fear and superiority for thousands of years, Admiral Helen Brooks stood on the observation deck of humanity's first official space station. Watching ships from dozens of different species arrive for the Alliance's inaugural meeting, the vessels came in every shape and size imaginable, representing civilizations from across the galaxy. "It is hard to believe how much has changed," said Captain Amy Foster as she joined Helen at the viewing window. Helen nodded, watching a Nexary transport dock alongside a Zephyrian courier ship.